Hey, it's Nicholas Sparkles of Gold. Welcome to the channel. If you've never been here before, stick with me here. I'm going to do a weekly rundown of the astrological transits and hopefully go on a rant and go off on a tangent. If you like what you're seeing, please hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to jump right in. Remember, please comment. You can always ask questions. I do come back and answer your comments. So here we go. There's the chart. Here's April 3rd. I'm doing this late in the middle of the night on Sunday. And I'm just going to point out something here. We just had the Aries new moon that happened on Friday, April 1st. And we're still kind of coming out of that. Even though we have a Taurus moon right now, you can see the Taurus moon here. That Aries new moon that was along with Mercury in Aries and Chiron, the wounded healer in Aries, set up a scenario for the month that has to do with of wanting to move forward at a certain pace, but right off the bat of the first week, and even as I speak, Mars, the ruler of the Aries world, is in a conjunction or together with Saturn, and this has been going on for the last week. And Saturn's a limiter. Aries wants to go. And Saturn likes to create the boundary and asks to contemplate and to think and to construct. Mars doesn't want to do that. Depending on the person, depending on what's going on, if one is to take a couple steps back, even though you feel like it's spring and it's Aries season, you want to move forward, don't push too hard is what I'm saying. And I'm going to say this for this whole week, to be honest. Just because there's sensitivity and a rawness involved. If you want to know a little bit more about that, you can go back to my last video on the new moon in Aries. It has to do with Chiron. I'll try to remember to put the little link there on the top of the box. Here we are into Sunday, and we're at the Taurus moon now. And the moon here, within so many hours later the day, is going to make a conjunction with Uranus. And here, even though Taurus is a stable Earth sign, Moon Uranus, anything that Uranus touches is electric, unpredictable, out of the blue, and wants to shake things up. And the moon in some predictable Earth sign like Taurus, it just kind of wants to be patient and prod along, especially after what just happened with the Aries new moon. There is something here on Sunday and into Monday where even on an emotional end for a grounded planet or a sign as Taurus, there will be some movement and some change and just a little bit of unpleasantness possibly. So I'm gonna jump into later on in the day, actually, because I actually want to see something here. Because if I go a couple hours, here's 12:45 a.m. If I'm all the way, like, let's say 4:45, you're going to see right here that the moon's already past Uranus, right? And it's moving closer to the 22-degree north node in Taurus, which would mean it's also going to affect the north node in Pisces, or the south node in Scorpio. These are where the eclipses are happening all year in these lunar node points. There's a connection to the eclipse that was in November of 2021. And kind of setting up a little something that happens at the end of the month. It's April 30th, I think, 30th, where we have the next set of eclipses 6 months later that trigger the north node in Taurus, the south node in Scorpio. Not easy. Scorpio ruled by Mars, Taurus ruled by Venus. So we'll go look to where Mars and Venus are. And you still, here you still see the restriction happening. And we're going to get to that in a second. But there's the moon in Taurus moving towards there. We'll go a couple more hours just to see some movement here, okay? And actually, I'm going to go all the way into April 4th now on the Monday. It's still early in the morning. And you see here that Mars is at 21 degrees. And here's Saturn at 22. And the tension is getting tighter and tighter. And these two planets, which in traditional astrology called the malefics, they what they do and how they function and what they bring a lot of times isn't of you would consider the most positive sense. I mix traditional and modern techniques and think on my own way about this. I will say there's a lot of pressure involved here, and with Aries, Sun and Mercury in Aries and Chiron in Aries, this wanting to move forward, it's just more tension filled. I would be very careful if I were you, if you're watching this video and you happen to watch it before this has happened. But even though after Monday for the rest of the week, I would slow down and check your impulses, especially in the Aquarius part of your chart, and where the Aries part and actually the Scorpio part of your chart. The reason is the Scorpio part of your chart is ruled by Mars, and the Aries part is ruled by Mars. They're connected to this area. And here's Mars at 21, Saturn at 22. They are squaring the nodes that I just talked about. This is a major pivotal point, and explosions can happen here, aggression, tension. And what I'm saying is to try to step back from impulsive moves. And if there's a feeling of wanting to push and rebel against something, do it in a safe manner. Try to step back. I'm just telling you one more time. This week is huge and part of an ongoing story here for the last 3 months. Take it easy. Be patient. Be smart. Stand in your power. All right. So April 4th, we go into and that's going on. And interestingly enough, we have this Jupiter in a Pisces and Neptune in Pisces thing that's just ongoing. And to that, we see Venus here at 28 degrees. And if we move forward, I'm going to move forward a little bit more because we're still in April 4th, the Monday here, and now the moon's past the node that I mentioned, okay? Now we see Venus to 29 degrees Aquarius, and we're going to move forward. And the reason why I'm going by the hour here so you can see is we see still late Monday night, 10:45, right? And then we're going to go into Tuesday early in the morning, and we are very close. Very, very close to Venus in Aquarius moving into Pisces. And there it is. We're at Tuesday morning Pacific time. Venus into Pisces. A lot of people have been waiting for this transit to happen because of the journey that Venus has been on since all the way back in the wintertime, and having to go through this Venus retrograde in Aquarius. It seems like it took forever because it did. And then Venus's transit through Venus in Capricorn retrograde that happened, and then eventually Venus going into Aquarius. Months and months of Venus being in Saturn ruled signs, and finally Venus is in the place where she flows, Pisces. She's at home here, and a lot of people, this is higher love, compassion, a glass of wine, the music, the dream, the love, the fantasy. Let's go to the other end. The fog, the illusion too, in relationships. Can be a very creative a transit here, but we basically kind of start off the next chapter and story that has to do with Jupiter and Pisces and Neptune and Pisces that's happening for the next several weeks. But that's a major point there of Venus being in Pisces, and try to use it in a creative way. You still have the tension with Mars this week, but Venus can kind of give you a little bit of a place of like feel good and take a shower, take a bath, go for a walk, be amongst nature, listen to the birds and the wind, and let in your dreams and start to pay attention to your dreams, which a lot of people have been doing lately because of Neptune, Jupiter. But this is a moment here to pay attention to on Tuesday. I can jump over a day actually, and just to let you know, the moon's in Gemini at this point, and it's a lot of chatter though too. It being ruled by Mercury in Aries here, so there's some snap, crackle, and pop with people's brains and what they want to do, and then Mars and the tension with Saturn, and then you got this other place of dream world. So pick your poison. Pick your poison here. We're going to go into the next day, and we're at April 6th here, and we have something that's starting to happen here with, and you can already see it with Mercury and in Aries, and it's building up to a sextile with Saturn here. And here we have a Gemini moon. We're going to go the next day to April 7th. Now the moon is in Cancer. Here we are, this Mercury at 22 degrees and Saturn at 22, and Mars is kind of there too, but Saturn. Here is where the quick ideas and thoughts and opinions that Mercury's flowing through Aries, and the fire and the snap, crackle, and pop, and Saturn in an air sign, that's the mad scientist that wants to do things out of the norm and bring something new in, but it's Saturn wanting a vessel and boundaries to help Mercury in a fire sign contain it. And if one were to utilize this Mercury in Aries, sextile Saturn in Capricorn, you can construct something from the mind. You could take that quick firing impulsive mind of Mercury in Aries and take the Saturn and then use the two together. They're a sextile, this conduit, and construct something from that. And the next stage of that is Mercury's going to do the same thing with Mars within the next day. So this is another important place where I think one can utilize the tension that Mars has with Saturn and wanting to go forward and be Aries-like. If you're looking for a place to go forward in a healthy, constructive way that's not going to be damaging and spitting fire out of your mouth, or people doing that towards you, wanting to be argumentative or get their way, you can use this Mercury in Aries constructing with Saturn in Aquarius to solidify those thoughts and start to do and take to it to a next level of construction and crystallization. You know, that's April 7th. We get into the next day, April 8th, and here's Mercury 25, now using the Mars in Aquarius and maybe taking the next two steps after the construction with Saturn to put something forward, to actually take action because you took the time and you used Saturn to construct and were a little bit patient with the fire. You're taking the Mars and Aquarius now with that and taking the action on the ingenuity, where it's still going to be come from a place of centeredness and focusedness and not wild, boundaryless fire that Mercury and Aries can do. Makes sense? See what happens in those 2 days? We're in April 8th there. Just want to say happy birthday to my brother. If he's ever going to watch one of these videos, that's your birthday. That's your solar return. Is right there. And as you can see here too, with this thing that I hope mentioned in the background is this huge transit that's taking another step with Jupiter and Pisces, Neptune and Pisces. This dream world, dream-like, imaginative transit that, when utilized, can take you to past the veil, and I've talked about this before, to places, other worlds that are not here, through your dreams, through your daydreams, through your creative power. The other side of this is what is not real, the fantasy, the fog, and the illusion. And with Venus here, I could see people projecting their dream, the thing they want, or they think that's real, and it feels so something that you have to be careful with something like this, because Jupiter wants to push and expand, and it's at home in Pisces, and it's along with Neptune. There is no container here. This is water spilling over. You just take a look at wherever Pisces is in your chart. Venus is there now too. Again, many people who follow astrology or into it has been waiting for this and talking about it in a positive way. I'm going to show you both sides, and I'm going to say, like, remember, still that week with Mars and its tension with Saturn in the nodes. Slow down, enjoy the ride, be easy, be cool. This moon in Cancer, is going to flow with all this water here. So on an emotional level, it just depends on the person of where their status is and where they are. But here, there could be a huge projection of emotional content on someone, something, wherever. You just got to look to the Pisces part of your chart. And that's ongoing with this Mercury and Mars sextile. We're basically at this point a week after the new moon, which a week after the new moon is always the first quarter moon. So there's tension going on with the moon in Cancer, with the Sun in Aries. It's that 90-degree first quarter week after new moon where there's a resistance going on. There's like the seed that's popping out of the ground. It either is going to die or needs to be watered and taken care of so it can keep going to the next week to the full moon. If you think about it in very simple terms, in that way, something has to be managed and dealt with. So it's actually not that easy here on an emotional level. Are you in the fantasy and fog, or are you in reality? Or are you in the fantasy fog and you have reality hit you over the head and it causes some emotional turmoil or emotional expression? A lot of tension this week. I'm going to keep saying this. So that's April 8th. We get into the next day and we still see the moon in Cancer here. And it's going to have its square with that Mercury in Aries. Okay, so there's an ongoing story here, and the words can be brutal and harsh and emotionally hurt yourself and other people. Very caustic energy with mental expression. So make note of that. And we also have, at the same time, we have Mercury at 27 degrees building up to a square. We basically have what they call a T-square here. Here's Mercury 27, here's Moon in Cancer, and here's Pluto. This is connected. It's like a triangle, but not a triangle. It's T-square, but the Moon opposing Pluto. Pluto squaring Mercury. The secrets are going to come out. The lies, the deception, hitting the Moon in Cancer in a deep emotional way and testing people's resolve of what feels safe and what doesn't. This could be a very hurtful time for certain people who have planets in Aries, Capricorn, and the Moon. These are where things come up to the surface from a deep level and from an emotional place. So you could see, while I've been talking in this video about, let me take a break here, about what's been building up for the last so many months and then what's been building up this week. And you get to a point in place where, you are saying or finding out things that come from a deep secretive place or that have been hidden, that have to do with secrets and lies and power struggles with communication and the power of the word, we're talking about Pluto and Mercury here, but hitting people emotionally where they're sensitive, and Mercury in Aries not wanting to have any filters. This is very hard stuff. Don't say I didn't warn you. That's why coming at a slower pace and not quickly reacting and taking the time to let things come to you, and then taking the time and using the sensitivity actually of the Moon in Cancer to respond in a more grounded place, a more sensitive, coming from a more sensitive, compassionate place. But honestly, this ain't easy. That's April 9th. And we get into the 10th where it's exact here with Mercury squaring Pluto. And at this point, the moon's already in Leo, giving a little bit of relief. But here still, we're in this deep truth place. And listen, this point with Capricorn and stuff is these later degrees have been hit by Venus and Mars earlier this year with a Venus retrograde and Mercury. This is bringing stuff back up from the past of these couple months. And some of the things that have not been spoken about or that need to be spoken about in a truthful way. It's just how it's done. It's just how it's done. But I'll tell you, be ready for some surprises. Be ready for some things to be unsurfaced, coming up from the mud, from the depths. At the same time, we still got this fantasy here. I'm laughing right now because these transits are so weird to have these fantasy fog illusionary, oh, love is everything thing. And then you have these other transits going on where it's fire and hard truths and deep discussions that need to happen. Like, and how do those things mix? You know, they don't. And so there's a lot of confusion here too. Anyway, we're on April 10th here, and we're on the Sunday. I'm going to end here. There's things that are unavoidable. I think here in the end, you know, and let me switch up to this. In the end, with this week, and what's been going on if you watch my videos, have you been doing the work? Have you been doing your Mars-Venus work when it was happening in Capricorn? And Mars and Venus in Capricorn hit Pluto in Capricorn. And dealing with these subconscious wounds and old habits and false powers that you were hanging on to for years of how you dealt with yourself in relationships and other people. And those things getting exposed, those things that do not work anymore. And those things that used to work, you applying them in relationships and them just being exposed and they don't work anymore in relationships. Then the conversations you've had with yourself or other people in scenarios with this. Then you have Mars and Venus who have been conjunct together in the sky through Capricorn, through Aquarius, and dealing with another type of processing here. All this whole time with Chiron and Aries and wounds that happened in just last week, have you been doing the work? Have you been honest with yourself? And have other people been doing the work and honest? And you cannot help but start thinking about like, have things changed? Things do need to change. Then it's the application of these things that you've hopefully looked at, confronted, been honest with, and then try to take something new from that and apply it. And this is sort of the application phase, but we're not quite there yet. It's a step-by-step process with many different planets asking for limitations. And at the same time, you have all these other planets who are like fantasy and fog. I'm a realist in the end. I'm a total dreamer, okay? But in the end, I'm a realist. And I'm into things that what comes around goes around. If you didn't do the work or you haven't been doing the work, it's going to be hard. If you're not standing in truth and not standing in truth with other people in certain relationships, it's going to be difficult. Maybe you have done the work or somebody else hasn't. It's still going to be difficult, but you're going to see certain truths come up. And that's what this week is all about. When we get to the next parts of April and stuff like that, this is still going on, but then we have a little bit more slow movement and a lot more surprises when we get to around April 16th when we have the full moon in Libra. I'll end the video by saying, as I always try to say, but find different ways to say it, that it takes courage, true courage, to look at oneself, to confront oneself, to see and process one's fear or fears and insecurities, to sit with those narratives that a lot of times have to do with pain and suffering and trauma. Sometimes people just mask it and they don't want to do it. They don't want to do the work. And things happen from the outside world to push those buttons eventually, whether it's now, 2 weeks later, 6 months later. You can go off on a fantasy trip if you want and ignore the last 3 to 4 or 5 months of transits that brought a certain type of reality. You can ignore it and go into the Pisces world and completely block yourself out. I'm not talking bad about the Pisces thing because I think that could be used as a creative conduit. And if you can come back and be creative using the Pisces energy and come back to these other narratives that have happened in the last 6 months, you can bring healing to your world. But from what I've seen, what people, humans do, and this because they're humans, because we're imperfect, is, we try to find ways to avoid dealing with our stuff. And so this is a major point here. And I encourage you to be real with yourselves and to think about the pace that you do things, and that you get to dictate that. And if you get to a certain place where you feel centered, and you feel like you've done the work, and it's time to relate to other people, come from a place of honor and love, empathy, and compassion. I see you and feel you out there. I know some of you, I know people, watch. Please leave a comment. You can always go to my website, sparklesofgold.com. I got a podcast. If you want a reading, I'm actually, for the next 2 weeks here, I'm like, people offer me a certain amount of money, I'll come up with a certain amount of time for a reading. I'm in the mode right now to help people. If you can't pay the regular price, shoot me a message. Tell me what you can afford, and I'll work with you. Let's grow. Let's grow with ourselves, and let's grow together.